2, 1. Welcome to this episode of the All Ball Podcast. It is Thursday, March 17th. I am your host, Joseph Shelton, here with my co-host.
Hi.
Thanks, Layton. On hour one of today's podcast, we will be discussing March Madness and all the games that have happened so far. Next, we will discuss the major NFL moves of the day, as well as the big MLB free agency moves. In hour two, we will be predicting every MLB division winner and previewing the first Formula One race that will be held this Sunday. Turns out we are more than just an NFL podcast. Welcome to the All Ball Podcast. Man, we thought this would kind of be a downtime, but some have called this the greatest time of year for sports.
Dude, it's really fun. Besides the championship, portion of the season, this is awesome.
Right.
So much news, content, drama, so much to talk about.
Right. So let's get right into it with March Madness. There were a lot of games that went on today. I think everybody's bracket's already busted. I mean, mine sure is.
Apparently, there is, according to ESPN's bracket, 743 out of 17 million left, less than 1,000.
That's not very good. All right.
And we're not even done with the first round yet.
Right. Yeah, I know. We're not even done with the first round.
Still half of them tomorrow. So.
All right. So first game, I'm just going to go in order on the bracket here. So I'm going to start in the West, work my way down to the East, and then go South, and then last Midwest. So first game, Gonzaga versus Georgia State. Not much to talk about here. Gonzaga rolled 93-72. I mean, it's a 1 versus 16. Gonzaga is a lot of people's favorite to win the championship. They return quite a few of the key players they had last year in the championship. So, yeah, not much to say here.
Vermont Arkansas game tied right now.
Really? You got anything for Gonzaga, Georgia State?
No, it is expected. I mean, it was close at like halftime, and then the Zags just went on an absolute tear in the second half.
Right.
So.
Next game, Boise State, Memphis. Memphis being the 9 seed versus Boise State 8. Memphis won. I don't think this is that big of a surprise. I think most people quite a few people saw this coming. I did. I had it picked. I picked this game. I don't know what you had, but I'm not entirely shocked by this.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those games where I feel like, honestly, the lower seed might have been the favorite. I don't know what the line was going into the game, but Memphis is, they typically are a good program. Occasionally get a couple wins in the tournament. So,
DeAndre Williams played well for them with 14 points, so pretty good. Yeah. So Memphis is moving on. Next game, UConn, New Mexico State. We actually watched quite a bit of this. UConn being a 5 seed went down. New Mexico State, the 12 seed, won. I feel like 12 seeds win a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's weird compared to Besides like 8 and 9s, it's probably, I would think, the second most likely upsets in the tournament for some reason.
Crazy.
6-11s, I feel like, are pretty straightforward. You maybe get one a year. 7-10s, same thing. But yeah, it's a weird number. It's a weird matchup, especially because a lot of times once you start getting below 10, it's kind of like the non-power 5 schools,
Right.
like the teams that won those conferences are kind of put in, whereas like they're the top of their conference rather than just being in the better conference.
Right. Um. Yeah. Again, I don't think this was a surprise to as many people. I don't feel like a lot of people thought UConn was playing particularly well heading into the tournament. New Mexico State, they just kind of got buckets whenever they needed it.
Uh-huh.
And UConn couldn't answer. They missed quite a few shots that they needed to hit. And UConn couldn't stop New Mexico State. They weren't stopping them on defense. So,
I don't got anything else. That's
all right.
sounds
Next
about.
game, Arkansas, Vermont is currently going on. Vermont, the 13 seed, Arkansas, the 4. Vermont is actually winning right now. Or now it's tied 51-51. So we'll continue to keep an eye on that. Baylor
I've
versus what?
Please say quick. I've seen a couple brackets that some people have Vermont winning a couple rounds. I don't know. I mean, I'm not behind the buzz on that. I'm just kind of
Huh,
something curious to think about.
interesting. Yeah, I had UConn going to the Elite Eight. Or no, Sweet 16. Never mind. Shoot, that stinks. Um.
That sucks.
Next game, Baylor versus Norfolk State. Again, this was a 1 versus 16. It wasn't even close. Baylor 85, Norfolk State 49. Baylor's, did I say? Oh, yeah, Baylor's back. They're the reigning champions. Again, they have a couple players that have championship experience. So they're playing well coming into the tournament. Yeah, this was a rolling. You got
Yeah,
anything?
no, it's expected. Tell you what, though, they really took off. Where typically like the reigning champions, sometimes they won't even come back as sorry. Sometimes they won't even come back as the 1 seed, but like a lot of times when they do come back, it's kind of close in the first round. They just hit the ground running and didn't stop. So that's kind of a good sign from Baylor fans that they're ready to that they're definitely willing to repeat. They don't got that like championship slump that a lot of teams have.
Right. Hey, real quick, you want to hit your fan?
Yo.
Um, yeah. So yeah, Baylor's still playing hot, which is good. I mean, returning experience helps for them, which they are. So that's good news.
They still got one of the best defenses in the tournament.
Right, right, which was their calling card last year, and they score a lot. So, I mean, they're in the top. I believe they're in the top 10 in offense and defense. I believe.
Yeah, that's good. It's pretty.
Yeah,
That's a championship stat.
yeah, it helps. Um, North Carolina versus Marquette. This is an 8-9 matchup. Marquette's been decent all season. I know they lost to Wisconsin when they played, but they had a decent season. I mean, for Marquette to get a 9 seed means they had a pretty good season for them. North Carolina playing below standards for them. Usually you see North Carolina being in that championship contending bubble. They're not this year. They've had a couple good wins though. They beat Duke in Coach K's last game. That was a significant win for them. But they absolutely boat raced Marquette 95-63.
Yeah, yeah, very, very fun matchup in the next round. I mean, I don't think North Carolina beating Marquette really improves their odds for making a run, but I will say that they have the potential to beat anybody on a good night. And
Right.
so, that Baylor matchup could be kind of scary for them. Just coming in confident off a good win, they might not try as hard. From Baylor's side at least, that I don't know, possible upset. I don't think it's likely, but possible.
North Carolina's definitely got the guns to run with anybody, but not as consistently as possible. So you never know. That could be a fun game. St. Mary's versus Indiana. The Big Ten was bad this year, and Indiana's just not a very good team. They're just not very good this year. The Big Ten was just overall not very strong. So St. Mary's beat the brakes off Indiana, beat them by 29, 82-53. Again, not shocking. St. Mary's have been playing all very well this year. I think they only, what was their record? Check that.
St. Mary's, they were pretty good, 28-5 or something like that.
Yeah. So they were 26-7. So yeah, they had a pretty good record. Indiana having, I guess, a down year. They're good.
Yeah, usually they show up in the playoffs. It's that's kind of the thing I think with the Big Ten though, is they come in super confident in the first couple rounds. But a lot of times they kind of can give one away to these out of or non-Power 5 conference teams.
Right.
And on top of that, I mean, obviously they were the lower seed as well. So like,
right. Yeah.
It is what it is.
Right.
Just surprised by the point margin.
Yeah, it was a big point spread. I thought Indiana would hang in there a little bit. Another game going on right now, UCLA Akron. There is into the second half. It's 32-32. So that's something to keep an eye on. Another game in progress right now, Murray State versus San Francisco. I know Murray State's been a hot pick for quite a few people to kind of make a run here. San Francisco is up, however, 37-36 at the half.
Yeah, I'm hoping Murray State can pull this one out. They've shown signs they can make a little bit of a run in the playoffs, so first round exit would be kind of a letdown for them, especially because I don't know. Yeah. I can't name a player on San Francisco. I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
Close game, fun game. Probably might be able to catch that after recording this, maybe.
Right. Next game, Kentucky St. Peter's. The big upset of the tournament so far. Kentucky being a number 2 seed going down to St. Peter's. It happens every year. Something like this happens every single year. That's why we call it March Madness, right?
Right. Very weird to me, especially because, like, dude, I think they were neck and neck, in my opinion, for coming out of the East with Baylor. It was between Baylor and Kentucky, I think, for a lot of people. So it was bound to happen, I guess. St. Peter's apparently has been playing pretty hot as of recent. I haven't kept up with them. I don't really know that, but that's coming from a couple of people I've heard. So that's a good win for them. I expect them to not continue this through the playoffs. Maybe get another win or two. Maybe not get another win. But overall, hey, beat one of the best, one of the most, elite and touted franchises, colleges in college basketball. So good for them.
Yeah. All props to them. They took care of business when they needed to. All right, moving on here.
Michigan.
Yeah, Michigan, Colorado State. Michigan being an 11 seed. I think they were a fairly safe pick to win this game. I mean, as safe as you can be for an 11 seed. I know a lot of people had them. I personally had them.
Yeah.
Again, I think the Mountain West, not a good conference this year. Again, so like as bad as the Big Ten was, it's still the Big Ten. And just kind of on a different level. So, yeah, I think this was pretty expected.
Yeah, Michigan was favored, so.
Yeah. Yeah, well, there you go. I mean, that just shows the committee sometimes.
Kind of weird.
Yeah.
I'm excited about this next game. So I think Tennessee, I have Tennessee in the Final Four. I have them beaten the 1 seed in their in their corner of the bracket, Arizona. So, decent win. I mean, yes, it was to an inferior opponent, Longwood, whatever. But a 30-point win's a 30-point win. Now they really get to kind of show their true colors against another Power 5 school next round. So,
Right. Yeah. So next game, Villanova. Oh wait, no, they didn't play yet. Villanova plays tomorrow. Really underrated 2-seed Villanova team. Nobody's talking about them.
yeah.
Usually when Villanova's good, they're in the conversation, and they're really not this year. So that's interesting. Another game that's going on right now, Kansas versus Texas Southern. There's 2 minutes left in the first half. Kansas is up 42-17. Think it's fairly safe to call that one.
Yeah, they're going to move on. Play Creighton in the next round. On Kansas, not much to talk about. The 1 seed beating the 16 seed. There's not much to talk about unless the 16 seed pulls it off.
Right, exactly. Next, San Diego State and Creighton. Creighton won. Dude, I never pick Creighton. Every time I get Creighton.
Yeah.
Whenever I pick them, they lose, and whenever I can never get them right. And it feels like them and Seton Hall are always an 8 or 9 seed every single year.
Just a weird team.
I always miss with them every year.
I don't know. It just depends on if you go into the bracket hot or not, I guess.
Yeah.
But no, dude, they could have won us free wings if we didn't leave early. If we didn't leave early, we got free wings. That game went into
overtime.
Oh, well.
All right. Next game, Iowa versus Richmond. Richmond pulling off the upset. Again, a 12 seed, dude.
I think this is probably the second biggest upset besides the Kentucky game. Iowa really, for the most part, I think has been probably the best Big Ten basketball team.
Most consistent, anyway.
Right. Like, usually they come into the tournament a decent seed, like at least 5 or above. So, sucks they laid an egg, but I don't really care. I'd rather Iowa lose than win, so I don't.
Right. All right, next, Providence versus South Dakota State. I don't really know much about South Dakota State. Providence has been playing really well this year.
Mm-hmm.
They've been playing really well. A lot of people have been underrating them. And they're saying, like, because a lot of their games have been close. And people are like, well, you get lucky. But there's something to winning a lot of close games. You know? Like, teams that can win close games do well in the tournament. Because that means you're hitting your free throws.
Right? Situationally, they're up there as one of the best situational teams in the entire tournament, not just,
right. And now they're going in against a Richmond team instead of Iowa. So that favors them. It's likely they get a matchup against Kansas now. So
you could see it. I mean, I wouldn't expect it. I think Kansas is really, really good, but you could see an upset possibly from Providence.
Yeah, we'll see what they can do for sure. They'll be tested. Okay. That is all the games for tonight. Obviously, there's still some going on. So if anything major happens, we'll keep you updated. But now we're going to jump right into the big NFL news of the day, which is, of course, Baker Mayfield has requested a trade from the Cleveland Browns, and Davante Adams has been traded from the Green Bay Packers to the Las Vegas Raiders for a 2022 first and second round pick. So that's the 22nd pick and 59th? 59th? Is that correct? So yeah, 22nd and I think 15th.
Good night.
Anyway, not a lot of people remember Davante Adams played with Derek Carr at Fresno State, so they have history together. They have past chemistry. Also, the Raiders provide a little bit more stability to Devontae Adams than the Packers would possibly have because it's unknown what Aaron Rodgers' situation is going to be like in 3 years. Now he has a 5-year contract, and it's likely Derek Carr is going to be there the whole time.
Yeah, good fit for Devontae, especially because it's almost better for receivers when they have a couple extra weapons around them. Like in the case of like the Rams, for example, if you have Cooper Kupp and Allen Robinson and Robert Woods and Van Jefferson and Tyler Higbee and all these superstars, everybody's numbers are going to be deflated slightly and everybody's numbers are going to go down. But that's just how it goes when you have to share the ball. Difference being like for the Raiders, for example, they really got two other guys that are like above average, I guess I'd say. You know, Hunter Renfrow and Darren Waller. Darren Waller this year kind of had a letdown season, but was looking like he could be, you know, one of, if not the best tight end just 2 seasons ago. Hunter Renfrow's coming in really young, one of the best route runners in the league. Could put him in the slot, get him a lot of targets, but it just takes pressure off of you as that number one guy, giving you a lot more one-on-one matchups, a lot less attention directed at you. So this could overall be good for Devontae just in terms of his money, his stats he's looking for. Really, the Raiders, like I would still say Green Bay overall has the better team, but like not by a whole lot. Like I would say the Packers are like a B plus right now, whereas the Raiders are like a B to a B minus. So I don't think it's like a huge gap, just in terms of how, you know, how overall the team is. I don't think it's a huge loss.
Right. Yeah, sorry, I'm struggling really hard with my mic stand right now. So if anybody out there wants to sponsor us, you know, let us know. We'll give you some good advertising. Anyway, yeah. No, I really like this trade for the Raiders. It gives them a lot more options, takes some pressure off Hunter Renfrow, surrounds them, you know, just surrounds their offense with more overall talent. I mean, there's a lot of talk that Devontae Adams is the best receiver in the league. So I would say that's huge for them. In terms of Green Bay, I think they were kind of forced into this corner when Aaron Rodgers took so long to make up his mind about what his decision making was going to be. And then, so then the Packers were forced to franchise Devontae, and obviously he didn't want to do that. And I don't know, just I feel like they probably could have made the money work for this year, but just going forward, it would have been hard for them to give him the money that he got from the Raiders, you know.
Well, from what the sound of it, it sounds like Devontae chose the Raiders over the Packers. It wasn't just a complete like, you know, organization decision.
Yeah.
Green Bay apparently offered him, I think it was like 23 and a half, 24 million a year for the next couple seasons. Where I think it was only 3 seasons though. Whereas the Raiders are giving him an extra couple seasons as well as a higher annual salary. And long term,
it just makes more
in
sense.
2 years, he's going to be in a much better position than he would be in Green Bay.
Because once
like,
Rodgers leaves, like, what are the Packers going to do? You know?
Right. So, you know, from basically all around, I think everybody wins here. Only thing with Green Bay is so now they have an extra opportunity to draft a really nice receiver in the first round or possibly trade up and get an elite guy.
Wait, hold on. I paused it. I think your mic stopped working. I can hear you. So it must be an issue with Spreaker. Hold on here. I don't know when that stopped. I didn't notice it. Hold on. Dude, this is so annoying. All right. Check now. All right, try it.
Yo.
Yep, now it's working. The issues with Skype. All right, I'm gonna start again. 3, 2, 1. Yeah. So sorry, we had a quick mic issue there. We had to correct, but I think we got it fixed. Anyway, Leighton, you were saying about basically stability.
Right.
Devontae.
Just insurance for Devontae. Raiders were a better overall decision. For Green Bay, um, basically it sucks because they're in win now mode, like big time, and so you'd rather have a guy that's proven and one of the best in the league right now than a rookie. But I guess if you're able to land two good to elite rookie receivers in the first round, that might be better, just because that's kind of been their issue, is that they rely on him a lot in that offense. So
Right.
when he doesn't show up,
Yeah.
it really hinders them. So it might be a win-win-win situation. I guess we'll have to find out.
Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I fully agree. Now Baker Mayfield in a different situation after posting his big thing we talked about right on the end of Tuesday's show. Baker Mayfield posted a big thing about like basically thanking the city of Cleveland and stuff like that. Now he has officially requested a trade from the Cleveland Browns. I think they said that would not be
Uh-huh.
that request would not be met. But it'll be an interesting power struggle between him and the team then, I guess. Is that correct? Did they say that wouldn't be met?
Yeah, they
Like,
basically told them that they weren't going to do that. But either way, you got to look at it like obviously their relationship is kind of fractured right now. Cleveland's definitely in a win now mode with how good their roster is overall, basically everywhere except for that quarterback position is really the only where that there's the only spot that they're really kind of lacking.
right.
I think that they're probably going to move on though, like whether that be to send Baker to like the Panthers, maybe send him to the like the Seahawks, maybe something like that, where it
Yeah, I
keeps
don't
the
know.
other teams kind of relevant for
Well,
the
then what are
season.
they
And
gonna do?
yeah, I think they're either going to try and just go for a veteran guy like Jimmy G, or maybe just draft Kenny Pickett in the draft and try and get a win now guy through the draft. I mean, big decisions coming up, but I don't think you can go into the season with an unhealthy relationship, especially on both sides. Whereas, like, Cleveland's already kind of throwing shots at Baker, and now Baker's saying he basically doesn't want to play there anymore. So I think they got to move on from him. I guess I would be surprised if he went into the season as a starter. That seems like a Cleveland thing to do, but um,
Dude, unless they can figure out a different option or I don't know, something. Dude, I feel like they gotta ride with Baker. I don't think they really have a choice.
well, I see. I think that they would have been fine if they didn't
Okay?
publicly open to like kind of bashing him.
Dude, I think they gotta try to stick it out now. I think they're too far in. I think they gotta try to stick it out. I mean, the only
Is
way I don't see him playing for Cleveland this year is if he just refuses to play.
would you hold that against him? Like
No.
or,
But
or
like
like
I think on Cleveland's side that's what they have to do.
see, I it would have been easy if they wouldn't have just said anything and just like if they couldn't get Watson. Like I think Baker, looking at it, probably realizes Deshaun Watson's probably a better quarterback than him.
Yeah, I would
Like,
argue that he probably doesn't think that, but
well, I guess
realistically.
you would think that you would realize that either way. Um, so they didn't land Watson. Watson says he doesn't want to play there. It's fine. So if they didn't say anything, it would have just been an easy transition. Just have your starting quarterback come back and jump right
Yeah,
in. But everybody has to open their mouth. That's
right.
how it goes.
Yep.
That's how it
All right.
goes.
Now let's jump into some free agency stuff. Obviously, or for the baseball. Obviously, the big moves being Freddie Freeman is headed to LA on a 6-year deal. That's, I mean, that's pretty big. That's a big thing, but like,
He's getting older.
I think it's not as big as some people realize. I think people made a bigger deal. I mean, I thought it was bigger at first, but it's just like, dude, the rich just keep getting richer.
Uh-huh.
The Dodgers just have so much talent on that roster, dude. We were talking like last year, they went 6 starting pitchers deep that were all super quality. Like, yeah, they've lost Max Scherzer now, but even so, they're getting
They still have 4 ace level. Well,
yeah,
I would say 3. No, well, where's Hyunjin Ryu? Is he still on that roster?
I think so.
I don't know where.
They got Walker Bueller. They have who's coming back? What's his name?
Dustin May and Trevor Bauer.
Trevor Bauer. Trevor Bauer's back from his like suspension thing, whatever that was.
Oh no, that's right. He's on the Jays. Right.
So like, yeah, they're still loaded. So Freddie Freeman obviously, I don't know why he couldn't get a deal done with the Braves. I don't know what happened there.
I don't know.
Like, you would have thought they'd do it right after the World Series, or before then, or get him extended, because like he's still a really good player for them at first base, and was a big part of like the leadership in that World Series winning team. So you would have got that done, and it's not like Atlanta doesn't have enough money. Like their owners, Liberty Media, are one of the largest media companies in the world. Like they have a ton of money.
Yeah,
So
I'm
I
not
don't.
sure about that.
That's
And you're the thought just by like he's been there their entire career. He's by far their most popular player. Probably brings in the most money out of any player there. Maybe besides Acuna now, but like Acuna's only been there a couple of years. That like just out of like respect and like trying to be honorable, they should have given him an extension. I personally think they upgraded, which is
they did
crazy to think about. Getting Matt Olson, but just like I guess if you're asking me, Freddie Freeman, he's gonna look weird not in the Braves uni. So it just kind of surprises me, but I mean overall, I think both teams improved.
Right, I agree with that. I agree with that. According to some models, the Braves actually increased the most in WAR this offseason so far. I think they got like 4.5 plus 4.5. So we'll see what that. I don't know how much those models matter, but we'll see. Another big signing, Chris Bryant signed a 7-year deal with the Rockies. This literally does not make sense on any side. It literally doesn't make sense on any side. Like, why would Chris Bryant, in the prime of his career, want to go to a team that really has no chance of winning? And why would the Rockies, who clearly have no chance of winning and are clearly tanking, spend $182 million on a 7-year contract with a player? Why would they? This doesn't make any sense to anybody.
Yeah, I was saying this earlier today with you that I think Chris Bryant could have made just as much money staying with the Giants, going to the Yankees, going to the Red Sox, going back to the Cubs, which I think wouldn't that make more sense going back to the Cubs than it would be going to the Rockies?
Yeah. It would have made more sense anywhere. Like
it's just probably the worst. The Rockies, the Orioles, not so much the Marlins anymore, I don't think, but the Rockies and the Orioles just have no direction.
No, well,
zero direction.
Yeah.
So
like Indians. I mean,
they're gonna have to trade away a lot of pieces, I think. But I mean, at least some guys.
Sorry, the Guardians. Yeah. Excuse me, the Guardians.
The Guardians.
Excuse me.
But like he definitely could have went to a contender and got just as much money, as well as now. Dude, he's literally gonna get like 50 RBIs next year.
Right. Yeah, I don't get that. I really don't get it. On any side. I mean, I get he got paid, but we'll see. All right, next one. The Oakland Athletics sent their third baseman Matt Chapman to Toronto. I know you're super hot on Toronto for this year. I think they've gotten quite a bit better this year, and they were already pretty good last year. The AL East is just stacked, and we'll talk about that more when we talk about who will be the division winners. But yeah, I think this is a big win for the Blue Jays. They get a really probably one of the best fielders, especially infielders in the league in defense. And he kind of had a down year last year hitting, but I think he'll bounce back.
Even if he bats over 250, he's good to get you well over 20 home runs a year. He's a great power hitter, strikes out a decent bit, but like in an explosive offense like this, guess what? Matt Chapman strikes out and Vlad comes up right behind him. So like,
right,
it is what it is. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm really high on the Blue Jays, like you said. I think really good move. A's are in a full rebuild, which sucks for A's fans. That's kind of the only like team they have now, isn't it? In Oakland.
Yeah.
They lost the Warriors and the Raiders in the last couple of years.
Yeah,
so
the Warriors went across the bay. Yeah.
So it sucks for Oakland fans, but
what are you gonna do?
But he couldn't get it done with the roster they had in the last couple of years. Might as well try and get something out of it.
Right. Okay. Next, Kyle Schwarber is headed to the Phillies. This is fine.
I still think at best they're the third team in that division at best.
Right. I mean, yeah, this is fine. I mean, it pairs him with. They can put him behind Harper, I guess, to kind of protect him so that he doesn't get walked. But honestly, Harper hasn't been. He had a better season last year, I guess, but it's just another power hitter. That's what Kyle Schwarber's always been. Like, he's never going to be the greatest on base guy, but he hits for power. So I guess I see why they did it.
I mean, it's a good addition. It sucks for the Red Sox because remember that when he first got traded from the Nationals to the Red Sox for like a month, he had the best like season in the MLB batting wise for like a month leading off.
Right.
Led the league in homers, batting average, OPS, runs, everything for like literally a month. That was kind of the thing that turned the Red Sox year around and led them all the way to the ALCS. So it kind of sucks for them on that standpoint, but I think it's definitely going to help the Phillies. They might be able to sneak into a wild card spot with that addition of an extra team, but I guess I wouldn't expect it this season.
Right. Yeah. All right. Next, so just quickly highlight this. The Cubs landed the Japanese baseball star I'm gonna mess up this name, Seiya Suzuki. So basically it was them and the Padres that were trying to get him. Cubs got him for 5 years, 85 million. I think he was like a 38 home run guy in Japan. So we'll see if that power really translates over to the MLB. We'll see, but I guess good bargain if he turns out to be anything.
Yeah, I think a really good signing, especially because I don't think he's very old, is he?
I actually know. I really don't know that much about him, to be honest.
Either way, they had money to spend.
They have a lot of money.
I mean, they're not going to be good. I don't think they're going to be very good for a couple of years now, at least until their prospects kind of start popping out. Let's see.
They need a lot.
How old he is. So he's 27. So he's locked up, just about until he's out of his prime, which is good for the Cubs.
Right. Yeah, if he performs. Sometimes it's hard to tell. But I mean, like, you see a guy like Shohei Ohtani translated really well. So, I guess.
And he's getting paid, I bet, a lot more in the MLB than he is in the
for
Chinese baseball league.
Japanese, but yeah.
Japanese.
Zach Greinke returns to Kansas City for a 1-year deal. I mean, this feels like a deal that's just he's there to end his career. He started with Kansas City. This feels like he's just returning there to finish her out.
Yeah, it kind of sucks that he's not going to get that World Series. Obviously, he's not going to get the World Series on the Royals, but he's not. I don't think he's going to.
Did he not win one in Houston?
No, they lost to the Nationals the year that he made it with them, and then they lost last year, obviously. He wasn't on that team that beat the Dodgers. I think he got there the year after, maybe.
Oh,
So that sucks for Greinke. But either way, there's no better place than home. Going back, I kind of agree with that one. Just kind of for one last hoorah. He's clearly the ace now in that team, so he's going to get a plentiful of starts.
Right, and he's had a really good career. I mean, he's a Cy Young winner.
Great. Hall of Fame. Hall of Fame.
Probably.
He's been on a lot of teams, but
he's been good.
He makes it work. The only thing with him is he's kind of been like the Dwight Howard of the MLB, where he's just got like a really weird kind of attitude that I don't think it makes him unlikable. I just think it makes him unrelatable, and so a lot of people don't prefer to root for him than like other people. So I don't think a lot of people dislike him. He's just not super popular, I guess.
Right. Yeah, I know what you're saying. Anthony Rizzo is back with the Yankees on a 2-year deal. So after a trade last year to the Yankees, he just re-signed with them. So, I mean, good for Anthony Rizzo. Always one of my personal favorites.
Yeah, good pickup for him. It was basically kind of signing after that they weren't going to get Freeman. So it's basically down to what the Dodgers and who's the other? There's one more team in it.
Padres, I think.
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, obviously he's not as good. He's not an elite first baseman anymore, but he's still good. He's still going to help you
defensively. So,
still going to try and help you get that, go on that World Series run, which the Yankees this season are definitely capable of.
Right, and I mean, he's got the experience, and he was a big leader for the Cubs especially during that World Series run. So he's been there, done that, and I think that Yankees locker room is going to be an interesting dynamic this year. Again, we'll get into that more next hour, but Andrew McCutchen is headed to Milwaukee, so they get another outfielder. I mean, I feel like Andrew McCutchen was probably better 5 years ago than now, but it's still a good pickup.
Yeah, I mean, it's not what they needed to win a World Series. I think it still kind of hovers them around that division, contention with them and the Cardinals, but he really doesn't upgrade them just in the hierarchy of the MLB teams. Like, they're still around like that 10th best team-ish mark, where I don't think they're good enough to win the World Series quite yet unless they land another bat. Or unless, I mean, if Yelich ever gets healthy, I don't know. So I don't know what's up with that. But, I mean, it's fine. Good multi-tool player. We got time for...
Yeah, we got a couple more. So Josh Donaldson is headed to the Yankees. Again, interesting. I don't know how this really works. I really don't think this makes them much better, to be honest. And they traded Gary Sanchez, which now I'm not entirely sure what they're going to do at catcher. I guess they'll figure it out. But yeah, I don't know if I don't really like this move by the Yankees.
It's kind of weird. I think they really need like pitching, and to solidify that bullpen is really what they needed. I think they have plenty of bats. So I thought it's kind of weird. It's going to be interesting seeing him without a beard, I guess.
Right.
That might single-handedly be the dumbest.
That's really dumb.
Like, rule in any sport.
It's so dumb. It is.
I'm going to go back a couple things here just because I think we went over an important one. But the Mariners, who obviously were just barely out of the playoffs last year, really landed two great bats, one great bat, one good bat out of Cincinnati. They got Jesse Winker and Eugenio Suarez for a right-handed pitcher, Justin Dunn, and an outfielder, looks like a second-round pick. Just a young prospects, basically. Jesse Winker, for basically the entire first half of the season, was looking like the MVP favorite in the NL. Eugenio Suarez kind of had a down season last year and the year before, but he's shown signs that he can really get some pop in his bat. So I think the Mariners offensively can compete with anybody, right, in the MLB. So it just sucks that they lost the one pitcher to the Blue Jays.
All right. Last quick here, 2 minutes. Who do you think is the most improved and most declined team so far.
Most improved for me is definitely the Blue Jays.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Definitely the Blue Jays. They got two starters,
Actually,
great level starters. You know, they downgraded slightly, losing Marcus Semien to Matt Chapman, I think, just because Marcus Semien is a great second field. I mean, but here's the thing. I think you can find a lot of good second fielders. Like, there's no, like, really elite second fielders in the MLB besides, like, Altuve and Semien. I think everybody else is kind of, like, good.
right.
Like Jake Cronenworth or lower. But there's not a whole lot of elite third basemen. And remember, they kind of tried having Vlad run that for a little bit when he came into the league. Didn't really work out so well, so they moved him to first or DH, depends on what they do next year. So they kind of downgraded slightly, I think. But I think it's way easier to find a replacement for a average second baseman than it is a third baseman.
Right. Yep. All right. We will see you on the other side of the break where we will be predicting division winners. That was literally, we just ran out of time.
Sorry, I will, when we go in, you kind of can go through the one that you think got better and which one you think got worse. I don't really know who I think got worse. Like,
I think the best. Well, we can just. Are you ready to just start right away again?
yeah, I guess. Who do you think got overall worse
Twins.
in the offseason?
That's the best. Oh, I'm gonna go with the Twins for better. Because even though they may not like, I'm not saying they're now the best team. Even they're probably the best AL Central. No, the White
Probably
Sox
the
are a
White
little bit
Sox.
better. But I guess my point is like, from where they were last year to where they're gonna be this year, they've just made a huge step forward.
I got my team. Who got worse?
For the worst?
Mm-hmm.
Dude, if we want to say from the beginning of last year to this year, it's the Cubs.
I'm going from the end. I got my team.
What are you going with?
The Giants.
That's a good point. That's a good one. All right, let's jump right back into it.
Which sucks because, like, I like the Giants.
Yeah. All right, ready?
I like them. I like their colors. Yeah.
3, 2. All right, welcome back to hour 2 of the All Ball podcast. So we'll just jump right back into it with the MLB. We finished up with Layton's team that he thinks was the most improved. The team that I personally think was the most improved. Now, I don't know how good they'll be at this year, but from where they were this year to where they will be this year, I think the most improved team is I really like what the Minnesota Twins are doing. I like their move. Not that Donaldson still didn't have some good years left, which he probably did, but I think the trade and they brought back good value, especially in getting a still pretty good catcher in Gary Sanchez, a veteran. They also got Sonny Gray from the Reds and minor league pitcher Francis Paguaro. So that's some good value right there. I like that. I think the Twins took advantage of some things. They got some good deals. They bought low when they had to. So I like that from the Twins. So they're my most improved team. Worst team that got the worst over the break, you think? Go ahead,
I think just personnel-wise, you could argue the Reds did, but just because the Reds have been kind of irrelevant, I'm not going to go with them. I'm going to say the Giants. So, had the best record in the MLB last season, was a game away from being in the championship series, lost to their rival at home, which sucks for them. But really, so what did they do? What's the big moves that happened? So they've lost Kevin Gausman, their ace, one of the best pitchers in the MLB. Kind of an L. They got Carlos Rodon from the White Sox back. But we've kind of seen in the past that he's never really been able to put a full season together besides last year. Health's always been kind of an issue. And he has a lot of games where he's on, like Jacob DeGrom level on, where they just, he's untouchable. But a lot of stinkers in his career. Like the one I can remember was, I want to say it was the Field of Dreams game. Wasn't that Carlos Rodon who was? No, it wasn't. It was Lance Lynn. I don't remember what game it was now. But he had like 7 runs allowed through 5 innings, or 4 innings, just something crazy. So he's just like not as consistent as Gausman, I don't think. And on top of that, they lost their best bat. Like, sure, Brandon Crawford might have had a better season than him last year, but I think when you look at age, just overall like talent, what you can give you with a bat, Chris Bryant was their best bat. That's why they traded for him.
Yeah.
And so I think that really kind of puts them to that third best team in that division. It's going to be really tough for them to win 106 games or 108 games or whatever they were at last year. It's going to be really tough for them to win that again this year, especially in a conference that overall got better. So I think the Giants kind of are slowly slipping out of that World Series bubble and into like that playoff contention bubble.
Right. Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Reds. You're right. That's a good one. But I'm actually gonna go with the Athletics. They obviously dealt Chris Bassett, Matt Chapman, and Matt Olson are already gone. It sounds like Sean Mania and Frankie Montas are gonna be gone too. So they're completely tearing things down. It's like there's already rumors of this team moving to Las Vegas.
Yeah. Like
I think it's
definitely possible.
Literally the Athletics. I mean, like they were in contention there before, and now they're down. I would say they're probably down there with the Rockies and Reds and
yeah, they're definitely
Pirates. Maybe not as bad as the Pirates. Pirates are bad.
That's
another team we forgot to mention with no direction. Pirates are bad.
They're definitely going to be one of the worst teams in the MLB next year. I just don't think like the A's have had some good seasons recently, but like I don't know if at any point they were really ever like in World Series contention.
Right.
So like, I guess when you're just looking at like personnel wise, yeah, they probably did lose the most people in the MLB, but just in terms of like where they were at, because like the higher you are, the closer you are to a World Series, that gap from being like elite to good, I think is bigger than being good to trash. Like, just the jump isn't as big, but it's not as important, I guess.
Fair enough. I just feel like they went from like, I guess, kind of trying to contend to now just not at all. So
they're gonna be bad.
All right, so let's get right into it. Division winners. Want to start with the biggest one, the AL East?
This is the best division in baseball
by far,
for sure. There's 4 teams.
This is the AFC West of.
There's 4 teams that could win the World Series coming out of here. You look at it, the Red Sox were a couple games away from being in the World Series last year, and they're arguably the 4th best team in this division.
Right.
Like, so I think me and you both kind of agree that right now the top 2 teams, it's really between the Jays and the Rays. I just think, you can't really, like, a lot of times in sports, like, people that go with the big names, it kind of backfires. But I'm going with the big names here, the big splashes. I'm going to say the Blue Jays take this one. I just think, they have 5 legitimate starters, and a couple of them do have injury concerns. But let's say you lose 2 of them in the season. If you have 3, or, especially if you have 4 of them healthy for the playoffs, that's going to be a scary team, especially with, you had almost a Triple Crown winner last year. Still got young talent everywhere. Gurriel and Bo Bichette, and now you got Chapman in the mix. It's just going to be a really overall tough team to beat.
Yeah, I think the Blue Jays could be the second best team in baseball. Um, I think I would have a hard time arguing against picking them to be the division winner. However, I mean, just for the sake of argument, I'm gonna go with Tampa Bay. You got stuff all over the place, and with very little salary cap too.
Yeah, they're
So
one of the
it's
lowest.
it's interesting. So they got Wander. I think I always mispronounce his name. Wander Franco, I think is his name. Um, Dude, this guy is This guy is going to be a future MVP. I think
He's really
that's
good.
pretty safe to say. I feel like he's gonna take a big step forward this year. Um, Tampa Bay has very solid pitching up and down the order, good bullpen. This is just a really solid lineup while not spending a lot of money. So I think their window is probably not that big to win a World Series. They got a couple more years here, but unless they start spending some, it's going to be tough for them to really get over the edge. But I think this is a lineup they played really well together last year. Expect to continue to see some consistency, and so for that reason, I'm going to go with the Tampa Bay Rays.
Yeah, good pick. I mean, they got arguably you could argue Kevin Cash is the best manager in the MLB.
Right.
With what he's working with, like, a lot of people have been super high on Craig Counsell.
Yeah.
Craig Counsell of the Brewers, like the last couple of years, because their salary cap or their payroll is just garbage. They don't have that much money to spend compared to other teams, and they've been good. I would say probably not in contention, but they've been good. Like the Rays have definitely been in full World Series contention the last couple of years. Obviously, I mean they made it a couple of years ago, lost to the Dodgers.
Right.
So it's definitely a good pick.
Right. All right. Let's go to AL Central next. Do you want to start or do you want me to start this time?
Well, I don't think it matters because we're both going to White Sox. Yeah. They've been the best team for a long time. Royals are still garbage. Tigers are still garbage. Tigers might be up and coming a little bit. Like they might skip ahead of the Guardians this year, maybe. In terms of the standings, they got that couple young pitchers and that one bat. Just young all around. So, I mean, it's possible that the Tigers could be on the rise this year. I just don't see them taking the division over the White Sox, who've been proven.
They just signed Javi.
The White Sox did? Or the Tigers?
Oh, no, sorry. I thought you said Detroit.
Yeah, are you talking about the Tigers? They got Baez?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's good pickups all around. So, I think that really when you look at it, it comes down to the White Sox and Twins. But just the Twins have just lacked pitching. Like, that's been their thing. Like, they were so close to winning the World Series a couple of years ago when they had, like, the best offense. But you can't win without pitching. You just can't. So, I mean, Dallas...
I really like their addition of Sonny Gray. But,
it's good.
Yeah.
Good pickup. But no, when you got Lance Lynn, Dallas Keuchel, sucks they lost Rodon, but again, he's really inconsistent, so it's okay. They overall probably have the best lineup. They got Grandal and Tim Anderson and Luis Robert, who I think is really, really going to be good coming up pretty quick. And Mercedes, what's that guy's name?
How do you pronounce it?
Johan Mercedes.
Yeah, how do you pronounce? Is it Eloy Jimenez or Eloy?
Eloy, probably.
Yeah.
So just overall, roster's got to be, I think, the best.
And they have one of the best bullpens too. Their bullpen's fantastic.
Right. So I don't think it's close.
You know what kills me? Cubs traded Eloy Jimenez to the White Sox for Jose Quintana. That worked out great. Just like to say.
So I think the White Sox for me is the easiest division winner pick.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. Um, okay, AL West. I'm gonna go
I'll
with
let
the
you go.
Astros. Um, Carlos Correa isn't coming back, but I mean, they still got Altuve. They still got that other tall guy. I forget his name. Um, they got
Um,
Verlander coming back this year. That'll be a big boost to their rotation. As much as I hate these guys, like they've had, I mean, they were in the World Series last year, so
right. I mean, it sucks they're losing because I think Correa is probably their best overall player,
I would
just in
agree.
terms of fielding and his bat potential. Um, but they still got Altuve. They still got Yuli Gurriel. Alex Bregman has been bad
Hmm,
the last couple of years, and
that's what I was thinking of, Bregman.
they're still winning with him. And he's been bad the last 2 years, and they're
Yeah,
still winning a lot.
you think so? At some point, he's probably gonna figure it out. Like he's not a bad player.
They literally have the best DH in the MLB. They got Jordan Alvarez, that tight end. The dude's literally a tight end. They got who is their right fielder? I'm talking about the lefty, the white guy. He's like probably the best bat now. Um,
No, I forget. Dude,
he runs funny. I can't think of his
yeah,
name, but
I forget his name.
they still got good pitching. They're getting their ace back. It's between them and the Mariners. Maybe the Angels, if they could land, like they just need a pitcher or something. You know what I mean? They
Yeah.
arguably have the best two players in the league, and they just can't get the pitching right.
Well, I
But
mean, they lost. It's tough. They lost Greinke and Cole a couple years back, so that's when their rotation was really on it. I mean, dude, they had Cole, Greinke, Verlander.
Tucker. Oh, what's that guy's name? Kyle Tucker. That's his name.
Yeah.
Kyle Tucker's really good too for him with the bat.
All right.
Mariners just don't have the pitching either, so I think the Astros definitely take it.
Right. All right. National League. Starting with the East. So, reigning World Series champions, I'm going to go with the Atlanta Braves. Ronald Acuna is going to be back healthy this year. Obviously, it's kind of a blow to lose Freddie Freeman, but getting back Matt Matt
Olson.
Olson, that's a big upgrade. Um yeah, this is a really solid roster overall. Other than like Ronald Acuna and Matt Olson, I wouldn't say there's like a ton of huge superstars on this team, but it's just really solid all the way around. You got a lot of guys that hit well, so that always helps.
Yeah, I mean, that championship fatigue might hit them a little bit, but I think that overall they still have the best roster in the NL East. It's definitely so. Let's get rid of the Marlins and Nationals, right?
Right.
Throw them out of the way. Phillies, they just have too many holes. I think in
Yeah.
that rotation or in that lineup. Like their rotation's really good. Zach Wheeler, Cy Young contender last year, Aaron
Right.
Nola the year before that. So they have potential there with the arms, but um, I mean their offense is pretty much Bryce Harper. JT Realmuto is not insane as a catcher with a bat anymore.
Which is great
Um,
because Bryce Harper strikes out a lot. So,
mm-hmm.
and now they got another guy, Kyle Schwarber, who strikes out a lot. So that'll be hot.
So it's basically going to be bombs away in Philly if they want to win.
Yeah.
Um, the Mets, I think, are kind of the same deal where they are missing a couple bats. I tell you what,
That's
though,
interesting.
is if Francisco Lindor can play like the MVP level that he was on the Indians,
Hmm.
I wouldn't be sad with putting the Mets as my favorite coming out of this division. Possibly, arguably up there with the Dodgers as the favorite coming out of the conference. But I'm still just for you know
Yeah,
reliability. I'm gonna go with the Braves.
I mean, adding Max Scherzer and Bassett, who we already talked about, is pretty huge for them. I would say they have one of the best rotations out there now. Obviously,
I think
yeah,
it's them or the Dodgers. Maybe Milwaukee if you're just looking at the
Milwaukee is a
top
pretty good
three.
rotation,
If you're just
but
looking at the top three, if you get past
yeah,
three though, it's probably the Mets or the Dodgers. Maybe the Jays.
yeah, the Mets just, and I mean, they, yeah, hold on, who am I thinking of? I mean, yeah, obviously headlined by DeGrom, you're
Right.
gonna be pretty good team. But who the heck? Who am I
Yeah,
thinking of?
that third guy. I was trying to think of his name too. Stroman, something.
No,
Is that you're
Stroman's
thinking
on
of?
the Cubs now.
Oh, that's right. They lost him.
Yeah. Um,
That's right.
but I mean to help like especially strengthening their defensive lineup, Sterling Marte, Eduardo
Yeah, that's a good
Escobar,
pickup.
Mark Canha. Canha? Is it Canha? I think that's how you pronounce his name. Yeah, that's all huge. So I think the Mets can be in contention, but I still think the Braves take it. Um, NL Central. I gotta go with the Brewers for this one. I just
Because you think they're gonna win, or because you don't want to go with the other team?
no, I think they're gonna win, and I don't want to go with the Cardinals, but no, I think the Brewers are gonna win. I mean, like you said, they have one of the best rotations in baseball. They're gonna be playing. I mean, so will the Cardinals, but they're gonna be playing some teams that are just not very good this year, including the Pirates and Reds, and probably the Cubs. Um, they need to get some hitting back.
It's so
But I
bad.
feel like whenever the Brewers pitching is good, the
Uh
hitting is bad.
huh.
They just can't get it right at the same
Uh
time. A couple of
huh.
years ago, they had
You
an
know that.
incredible offensive lineup and no pitching. And now they got their pitching right, and their bullpen's good too.
I don't get
So
it.
I think they had the lowest combined ERA last year.
I think
If
they were
not,
third. I think they were third
okay,
behind the Dodgers and the Rays. No, not
okay.
the
It was
Rays.
close though.
It
They
was
were
really
very
close.
good.
They were like .2 off.
They just need
I
to add
think
some hitters. And I
head
don't
to
think Andrew McCutchen really does it for them, but
okay, so head to toe, and I'm gonna agree with you with Milwaukee on this. Head to toe, I think they have a top five pitching staff. Like, consider starters, relievers, bullpen, and they got Boxberger back too, which was kind of a big question mark for him. Really good pick. He's their best reliever, one of the best in the league last year. So if I think, dude, because this is you're talking about when they had like Moustakis and Grandal and whatnot, right? On offense.
right.
It so they drafted their
And
best
when
or they
Christian Yelich was playing MVP level.
right. So obviously trading for Adonis last year was huge for him on offense. But if Yelich is able to pick it up to even like borderline all star level, like he doesn't have to be go out and be the best one of the best players in the league anymore. I don't think. Same with Lorenzo Kane. Like if they could just get like a 25 what am I trying to say? Go from like 250 to 275. So like a .25 plus in their batting average or a .025 plus in their batting average from a couple of their guys, especially their good players like Yelich and Kane, that this team could they could go pretty far, but I think they'll probably win the division. It's definitely between them and the Cardinals. Um, just overall better pitching, I think, is the key here, though.
Hmm. Dude, there was a minute there where people were saying that Christian Yelich was the best player in baseball.
I mean, he was putting up. When you look at it, was like them 2 seasons. The one where he won MVP, and then the one where he came in second to Bellinger.
Hmm.
He had one of the best 2 year stretches, like of anybody ever. Like these
Yeah,
seasons were well over 1,000 OPS. like over 80 home runs combined, over 80 doubles combined, like 60 some steals,
Mm-hmm.
like almost 200 RBIs, I think, 200 runs, just crazy numbers over 2 years. And then what did he do? He like foul tipped the ball like into his shin, and then like, or something like that, or I think it was his knee, like the top of his knee. I think the ball hit, and he just hasn't been the same since. It's just been injury after injury for him.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. All right. Last, the NL West. This is not. Again,
Diamondbacks.
I would say this is one of the easier ones for me.
Diamondbacks.
Okay. Yeah. Oh. All right. So we're done here, right? Yeah. Diamondbacks.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Obviously Dodgers.
Just move on. It's the Diamondbacks.
The Dodgers. Max Scherzer, Corey Seager, and Kenley Jansen probably are gone. Max Scherzer's obviously he's gone, but they moved and got Freddie Freeman, which means Trey Turner will be moving back to shortstop. Max Scherzer's departure is kind of a blow for the rotation, but still, they still got. We talked about this before. They still got Walker Buehler. They're getting Trevor Bauer back. Did we ever figure out if they have that one guy? What's his name?
No, he's on the Blue Jays.
Okay.
Dude, I'm telling you, if the Dodgers have Trevor Bauer last year, they have more wins than the Giants, and they win the World Series.
Dude, they would have been insane.
They win the World Series.
6
starters.
They obviously still have Kershaw. Not the same, but
if you're able to plug in Kershaw as that 4th or 5th starter and let him take off every couple of weeks, he could perform really, really elite. It's just that the longer he pitches, the worse he gets.
Well, right, because he's old.
So if they're able to limit his innings, like closer to like 80 innings on the year or something like that, like rather than 120 plus, that would just be, and you save him for the playoffs. I mean, they're definitely my favorite to win it.
They still have 4 ace level pitchers.
And dude, I am super high on Dustin May.
Dustin May, that's who I forgot.
His sinker might be the best overall pitch in the MLB. It's up there with DeGrom fastball and slider, and up there with Chris Sale slider and Verlander curveball. Like, it's up there.
Dude, Dustin May, Walker Buehler, and Trevor Bauer. That's ridiculous.
And they didn't have him either last year. Like, they were missing. They almost made the World Series, and they didn't have Dustin May or Trevor Bauer. Ooh.
Dude, last year they could have gone like 6 deep last year.
Uh-huh.
Jeez.
Is there like a rule for that? Like, you're only able to have like 5 starters?
No, you can do whatever you want. Most people just do 5.
Just crazy talk, dude. Definitely my World Series favorite, for sure. And honestly, like,
starting to not like them. I'll tell you that for free.
I guess the only thing that might bite him in the butt is Dave Roberts' situational coaching. It's about the only thing that's gonna possibly come back.
Dude, Dave Roberts is like, hey, I'm not gonna say he's the Mike McCarthy of the MLB.
Yeah.
He's more of like the Kyle Shanahan.
He's Andy Reid, bro.
That's fair. That's a fair comparison.
Where they just try and take shots, but a lot of times it doesn't work. Like, dude, when you have the best roster, just use your people. Don't try and do fun stuff. Just keep it consistent and go for it.
Yeah. I agree. All right. So, with the last 20-ish minutes here. By the way, I don't care what anybody says. These Dunkin' Donuts jelly beans slap. So, second pitch, Duncan, if you want to sponsor us, I'll sponsor your jelly bean. I'll do it. Um, Clayton doesn't like them as much as I do. All right. So we're gonna get into the first Formula One race of the season. Is on this Sunday. I'm sorry. I've gotten really into Formula One the last year. I love this stuff. So we're gonna preview who we think are the favorites going into both this race and the season. So my number one favorite. Well, Leighton, I'll let you go first. What are you thinking for this race?
To win the race?
Yes.
I would have to say probably Verstappen. You look at last year's, I mean, he basically was an inch away from winning it last year.
The first race?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't he have the best time too in trials?
In qualifying, yeah, he was on pole.
So I think Verstappen's definitely the favorite. I think Formula One, like, it's a lot less likely for there to be an upset than in a lot of other sports. Like, you kind of know who's going to be good, who's going to be really good, who's going to be average, who's going to be below average. So I think it's definitely Verstappen. And then I'll just throw in a second pick as well. I'm super high on him. My friend Daniel's super high on him. I'm going to go with Carlos Sainz. I think Ferrari probably has the first or second best, 2022 model in all of Formula One. And he showed out in his first season for him last year. So I guess those are my current 1 and 2 for this race, as well as possibly for the Drivers' Championship as well.
Yeah. So for this race, so this is interesting. So, barring something ridiculous happening, probably going to be somebody from the top 4 teams, and I would even argue top 3. So that being Red Bull, Ferrari, Mercedes, McLaren. I would say all of those have a chance. I'd say the most likely is, I think the Red Bull's looking the best so far. You got to say the Red Bull's look the best so far in testing. It's just kind of not. I don't want to say the Red Bull's look the easiest to drive, because like obviously driving a Formula One car is not easy, but it's looked the most driver friendly so far. Max set the fastest time in qualifying. Didn't look like he was pressing too significantly hard. Red Bull's pretty much got the porpoising issue under control, especially better than a lot of teams such as Mercedes. So I would definitely say that Max is the favorite, but it kind of all depends on how the Ferrari looks and how all the other cars look when they turn up their engines to the real pace. You never know. Mercedes has done this in the past. They've looked poor in qualifying, and then when it comes to the real race, they've absolutely just whipped it out. So you never know. Like Lewis Hamilton has always got to be counted in to the race. So he's just got to be my number 2, especially considering like how him and Max were driving last year was just on another level, even compared to their teammates who were in the same cars. At some point, you just got to give it up. They were on a completely different level. And as for the McLaren looked quick, but it's just really tough to tell, before we get into the real race. Because again, nobody's engines levels are turned all the way up. People don't want to give away everything. So it's just really tough to tell. I would say my order would be probably Max 1. And it's really tough. I would just say Lewis, because you never know. But the Ferrari also looks really strong. So that could go between Charles Leclerc or Carlos Sainz. So you never know. That's what I am thinking for the first race. But hoping the McLaren's quick.
You think a Red Bull overall probably win this?
Here's what I'm thinking for podium. Here's what I'm thinking right now. Thinking Max 1. I'm thinking Lewis.
I know who
2,
you're going 3. I know
and
you're
I'm
going
thinking
3.
Sergio Perez 3.
That's not who I thought you were going to go with.
Yeah, I know it's not who you thought I was gonna say, but the Red Bull's just really good. So, and I think the Red Bull's better than any other car at this moment. I think Ferrari definitely has the potential to catch up, as of well, of course. Mercedes always has a chance to catch up. I just think Lewis and Max are on that different level compared to the rest of the drivers right now. So I think Lewis will figure it out. I think George is going to need a couple races to really get under that Mercedes. And like I said, I think the Red Bull's just better at this moment than any other car. And obviously Checo's a very capable driver. So I think Checo in third.
Okay. Yeah, for my podium, I'm going to go Max 1, Sainz 2, just because I think, well, I'll just say it, 3, Hamilton. Only reason I have Sainz above Hamilton is just I think the Ferrari is just better than the Mercedes right now. I guess if you were asking where I think that the teams will finish on the season, I guess I would say I have more confidence in that Mercedes will make corrections throughout the year and turn it around than Ferrari will. You just look at it last year, they had some major issues going into the year and basically had that turned around within a week. And so I guess it's really tough to tell, especially like for the first race, but just from what we've seen, I'm going to go as well as in that order just for points for the Constructor Cup as well. Red Bull, Ferrari, and Mercedes.
So here's what's interesting to me. Because I don't know how much of this history you know, but Charles Leclerc is kind of Ferrari's golden boy, right? So he got obviously like the longest ever contract in Ferrari history. Ferrari has a history of not signing young drivers. They picked up Charles Leclerc in his second year, and he quickly took a challenge to Sebastian Vettel, the 4-time champion. So obviously Ferrari intended him on being their number one driver, which made last year really fascinating.
Yeah.
Because early in the year, obviously, Sainz had to adapt to the car and everything. And Charles Leclerc is a two-time race winner for Ferrari. 2 or 3 times. 3-time, I think. Anyway. But what was interesting about last year is Carlos was at first, in the beginning of the year, he was struggling with qualifying and then doing pretty good in the race, which is pretty typical. I mean, like, it's easier to get the car under you during a race than it is for one lap of qualifying, because in one lap of qualifying, you're really on the limits of the car and what the car can handle. So, but by the end, the gap between them qualifying was starting to close up quite a bit, and Sainz was starting to beat Leclerc in some races. So
after Monaco, right?
It's an interesting kind of. More the second half of the season, I would say, more than after Monaco, but just it's going to be an interesting dynamic. And Ferrari also sucks at strategy. Like, they're just terrible at strategy historically in the last couple years. So
pockets.
I count on Ferrari to screw something up. Yeah, I don't know. Ferrari to me is, I've said this before, Ferrari to me, they are such the Dallas Cowboys of Formula One. Like, everybody always hypes them up at the beginning of the season, and then they never quite deliver to what. I mean, we look at the whole 2019 season and likely 2018 season, they were cheating their butts off and still couldn't beat Mercedes. So, I don't know. We'll see. It'll be an interesting dynamic in Ferrari this year. But
yeah, I'm gonna look at it
we'll see.
From Mercedes' standpoint, because you were kind of like more or less going why you think Ferrari's more likely to lose than Mercedes, right?
Right.
I just don't know how good George Russell's going to be, and obviously he's in a much better car than last year.
Than last year, for sure.
But just like, especially the first couple races in the new car, I think typically doesn't go as great as, you would like. So I think it's probably going to take at least a couple races for him to get super duper comfortable. So it's possible. I mean, I'm expecting him to get points, but I guess I wouldn't be like completely surprised if he completely falls out of the points bracket, out of the top 10, and doesn't get anything week one, especially because Haas had a good week in testing. It sucks for Aston Martin that Vettel's out. That's probably
Hulkenberg.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Go. Yeah. But no, I mean, there's just a lot of other teams that we've been saying that this season is going to be super competitive. Just like really the only couple teams that I think are actually going to be like genuinely bad, I think is like Williams and Alpine. And I kind of like at least one driver from every other team.
I feel like Alpine shouldn't. I don't know. They just had a bad testing week. But you look at last year, they were up there fighting for 5th place in the constructors. And I felt like Alpine was getting a lot of positive momentum. So I'm hoping they figure it out. I'm not necessarily agreeing with you on the fact I don't think they're going to be bad. I think, unfortunately, Williams is going to be pretty bad. I think they're probably going to end up taking a step back. I think Haas is going to take a step forward. Alpha had a lot of struggles during testing, so we'll see how that goes for them. So I hope Alpine does okay because I feel like they were really taking a step forward. So for them to be one of the bad teams would really be a disappointment.
Okay. Where were we at? Either way, so my point about Ferrari over Mercedes week one is just, I guess if you're asking, I have more confidence in Ferrari's 2 drivers than Mercedes 2.
Yeah, that's fair. I think over the long haul, well, it just depends. If
I mean, dude, yeah,
over the long haul, it just totally depends because if Lewis is in a fight with Max again, like last year, and they're going back and forth trading wins, really doesn't matter what George Russell does because as long as he's scoring points, Hamilton and Verstappen were so far clear of the field
that especially
because Valtteri took 3rd last year in the drivers' championships, and he wasn't even close.
Right. I mean, yeah, you look at the gaps; they're pretty substantial. I guess if Hamilton does win, it really doesn't matter, just because I don't expect Sainz and Leclerc to finish close to the podium. Both of them probably not. Do you know where? Do you have any guesses as in terms of qualifying? Where they're gonna finish? Not qualifying, but
not qualifying.
Yeah, qualifying. No, yeah. Qualifying. I couldn't think of what it's called.
Oh, see, this is. It's just so tough to say without having seen a race yet. Because you never know what teams are. I know the Red Bull's good. So I anticipate Max taking pole. I really don't see him having too much. I think Red Bull just got on top of it quickly, which is shocking considering they were one of the teams with the least amount of testing time, and they were in a championship fight last year. So they had to keep investing in their 2021 car and couldn't move right onto their 2022 car. Like teams I guess the bad teams could move on to their 2022 car a lot sooner that weren't in fights for the constructors. But it just seems like Red Bull's nailed it so far this year. It just seems like they've absolutely nailed it. And I think, obviously, I've said this before, but I think you can go back and forth who's the best driver in the sport right now, but it's clearly between Max and Lewis. And I think there's even an argument to be made that Max had a worse car at the end of the year last year, and somehow he still pulled it out, whether controversy aside in Abu Dhabi, but, it is what it is. As for the rest of the field, we've talked a lot about, I think the top 4 are the top 4. I think that is basically what it is. I'd look for Alpha Tauri to probably be the 5th team this year. I have a lot of faith in their driver lineup compared to others. I probably of of the last 6 teams, the 2 teams I have the most faith in their driver lineup would be AlphaTauri and Alpine. I really like the driver lineup of Pierre Gasly and Yuki Tsunoda. I think Yuki's going to have a much better season this year. He started improving at the end of the year last year, just last crashes.
Sean.
So, and I obviously Fernando Alonso, 2-time world champion, excellent driver, and Esteban Ocon, now he's a race winner. So say what you want about him, but
okay,
yeah.
I guess if you're asking me who's probably going to finish in that 5th spot, I would say there's a lot of teams. It could be Aston Martin. It could be, like the race, for example, which you had me start watching on YouTube. They have Haas projected as their 5th finishing team.
That would be a
little bit of a stretch, in my opinion, but it's really competitive. The middle, 5 through, I guess 8, 5 through 9 for the most part. I wouldn't be surprised. You're not super high in Alfa Romeo. I like them, especially when you look at it. They got one of the best drivers in Formula One now.
Yeah, Valtteri's good. Valtteri's very solid.
And they got a rookie coming up who might struggle the first couple races, but by the end of the year could be looking at getting some points for them. So I don't know if they'll finish 5th, but I definitely don't think they'll finish close to the bottom. So I guess I'm trying to let go.
All right.
Looking for the state. Either way, I would say probably if I was a betting man, I would say probably Aston Martin, maybe AlphaTauri as well. Pierre Gasly is really,
he's a good driver.
Really solid.
All right. So that's all the time we got for this week. We'll see you next Tuesday. Again, as always, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube and iTunes and Spotify. Leave a review and follow us on social media. Have a good week. Perfect.